James Ware, as per usual, out and about this morning. He's in Orange County checking out the Brown Estate. And I guess for years, it's going to take people a long time, isn't it, to go away from calling it the Brown Center, I think.
Right. I'm looking at my notes going, okay, Brown Estate, not Brown
right,
Center.
exactly.
You know, at my age, I've called it the Brown Center all these years. But yeah, it's just probably one of my favorite historic homes in our area. And Dan, this is just one example. Does this archway and this doorway,
wow.
I mean, you know what that's from? Gone with the Wind. This family had it designed, in fact, they pulled it out of a historic, what did you call that, Terry? Terry, the manager here. But they got the plans for this home and part of that out of a historic collection.
They did. They had the plans drawn from the National Archives, and it's actually built after Linden and Natchez in Mississippi.
Yeah, so the home is about 20,000 square feet. And let me give you an example, Dan. In the time from 1954 to 1956 that it took to construct this home, it ended up costing about $1 million. Today's terms, they say that's equivalent to about a $10 million house. And just think about that. I mean, I was looking the other day at homes for sale in our area, $1 million homes, and there was, I think, one for about $5.5 million. But that's big time. And to think that this would be equivalent to $10 million is tremendous. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little about the home and the history and the Browns.
Well, it took them a year and a half to complete it. It was finished in 1956. Mr. Edgar Brown built it and his wife Gladys. Their kids were grown when they built this house, so it was just the two of them living here.
Two people, 20,000 square feet.
Yes, it was.
And a lot of people don't even know that, but there was a guest home in the back that was like 4,500 square feet. There was a golf course, there was a landing strip, and that has since been sold off, some of that property. I know a relative lived back there for years.
Yes, one of the grandsons lived back there, and then they sold it several years ago.
Okay.
To a local businessman.
Tell us what the property is used for today. After the death of Mr. Brown, they donated the home to Lamar State College Orange, and now the usage of the facility.
We do a lot of events here for the community, for the local schools, the churches, and businesses, and our primary events that we do are actually weddings.
Okay, and you were looking at a picture of the Browns right there on the wall, and now we're walking into the atrium, and this is where a lot of the receptions are held.
Mm-hmm. This is the largest room in the house. We use the entire house for parties, but this is our main room for all the activities.
I liked what you told me earlier. There were some references that Mr. Brown referred to this as his mini Astrodome.
Yes, he did. That's what they say he called it, his mini Astrodome.
And I guess he's referring to the glass top ceilings. A lot of people don't know that, but the Astrodome was built with a glass ceiling, originally to let light through so the grass would grow. But they found out quickly that the grass didn't grow in the Astrodome and had to go to the artificial turf, hence the term AstroTurf.
That's interesting.
There you go. So I guess that's what he's referring to with the glass top ceilings. But the property around it, at one time he had more than 20 people that took care of the property that were employed here. And Justin's taken us out on the property now. 88 acres.
88 acres. That's what was donated, and the house was left to Lamar.
Okay. And what we're looking at now is the fountain, but back behind that, a 3-acre pond.
Yes, we have a 3-acre pond. There's also a fountain in it. And there are bridges that connect to the islands on the pond.
Okay. And the bridge out to the side over here, this is where I see a lot of wedding pictures taken as well.
Yes, a lot of them there. Also in the back, totally different view from the back of the lake.
Sure. And Dan, I've got to see some really neat stuff. Between our first live shot and this one, Terry actually took me down into the basement, and there's, you know, just, it was tremendous seeing that. I mean, it was basically a protective area that's pretty secure.
It is. He had a special room to go to just for him in case of an emergency, and then the whole house is covered with basement.
Wow. So he had his own safe room?
I would call that a safe room. I mean, it was completely surrounded by concrete, and there were exits and crawl rooms that led out to different parts she was showing me, and it was rather fascinating. As many times as I've ever been here, I've never gotten that tour, so Terry, I appreciate that. And Terry didn't want to get into all this, Dan, but someone we work with could even talk about it a little more. But there are ghost stories at the Brown Center.
I've heard those.
So you've heard that.
I have.
Yeah, and after going down in that basement, you know, hey,
you're buying in. You know, one other question. Did I hear you say earlier that the house had its own golf course?
It did, and I don't know that it was, I think it was a 9-hole golf course, I'm not sure, but I actually got to go out to that guest house one time, and I was fascinated by it at 4,500 square feet, and one of the family members lived there, and he was telling me, it has an Olympic-sized swimming pool as well.
It has a very large swimming pool. A lot of people think there was a pool here, but there never was. They didn't build one because of the one next door.
Right, and it was one of the sons, or grandsons, I should say, that was telling me that they had a landing strip, and I'm wanting to say that he told me that a former president had come down one time and landed back there and played around the golf with Mr. Brown.
Wow.
Probably 5 holes is what I remember him saying.
Yeah, and you know, Orange is the, I always call it the timber barons, you know, headquarters. There were so many of them there, and of course cattle as well. All right, James, thanks.